Hey, it's Tyler, host of the Tyler Knows Everything podcast, where the nose is crossed out because I always want to learn more. Remember that you can listen to this podcast on iTunes, Apple Podcast app, Spotify, and the Google Podcast app, or you can watch the video version of this podcast on my YouTube channel. I recommend clicking the subscribe button on your favorite app for either listening or watching, so you can be the first to know when new episodes are available. As usual, I'll go ahead and get all of the advertisements out of the way now so that there's no interruption during the content of the show. This episode is sponsored by the following amazing humans: Ty Kudrain, Mark McKee, Judge Mitch Templeton, Roxanne and Eric Helberg, Joe Gilbreth, Paul Prosperi, Wade Adair, and Zach Hawthorne. You too can sponsor this creative effort by becoming a patron on Patreon. Simply visit patreon.com/Tyler Knows Everything. That's www.patreon.com/Tyler Knows Everything. Judge Mitch Templeton sponsors this podcast as a political ad paid for by the Mitch Templeton for Judge campaign. In today's episode, we're talking about solar power. You may have heard me mention in other episodes that I live in a solar-powered home, and I get a lot of questions from people who are curious. So I thought I would sit down with a friend who sells and installs solar panels. Please welcome the super interesting and highly intelligent Jaime Diaz.
Tyler
Knows
Everything.
Well, thanks so much for coming on. It's been tough to get guests that don't know me during this time because of the COVID-19, so I have to reach out to friends.
Totally.
So I was glad when I got your text because I needed somebody for this week. And
I appreciate it.
Yeah, we've been talking about setting it up, and we finally got around to it. So, solar is something that's important to me. I have a solar-powered house. I talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that probably gets brought up that the guests are like, oh, he's talking about it again. But it's something that people are generally interested in. I get tons of questions. Every time I'm mowing the grass outside, a neighbor stops by, or I post something online, people always want to hear about it. So maybe take us back to how you got started.
With solar?
Yeah.
Yeah, my neighbor actually at the office that I was at, we had a technical safety thing going on for school, welding, all that good stuff. So my neighbor actually had a solar company out in Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. And with him, I kept hearing him talk about some crazy numbers. Yeah. And it just intrigued me to it and what they were doing out there and helping families. I think it was whenever something happened over there, right? Where all the, I don't want to sound ignorant, but something happened, right?
Yeah, so when Puerto Rico got devastated by the hurricanes, Tesla and maybe some other companies too shipped a bunch of solar arrays down there and batteries.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know this, but that's actually the fastest way to get a power grid back up and running.
Nice.
Because obviously you can't build a power plant that quickly,
Yeah.
but you can throw up panels very quickly and have batteries to store that energy. And Puerto Rico's in an area that has a lot of sunlight.
Yeah. Well, they helped a lot of people. I mean, they helped millions of families. So that's what really intrigued me, what I can do with that. Now, I was aiming towards that route until I figured out it's extremely hard to get into that without having a bunch of licenses that you need. I mean, it takes years. They were in the process of like 5 years, 6 years before they even got a license, and then another 3-4 years before they even got those contracts.
Right.
So it just took too long. So I went to the residential route and just started helping families out to save money, help the planet, stuff like that.
Yeah, and how have you seen the trends as far as geographically? Like California is the #1 residential solar hotspot.
Yeah.
They adapted a lot sooner than we did. But all throughout that southern region, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas. I mean, it almost seems like a no-brainer.
Absolutely. So California, I'm from California, and over there, the market for energy, it's like 18 cents a kilowatt, 20 cents. So it makes sense for them a ton.
Yeah.
So I hope we're like that out here, and I hope we're the one that do that.
Well, and the weather's amazing over there.
Absolutely.
Were you born over there?
No, I was born in Houston, and then we moved out there when I was 12. So
how much time did you spend in California?
7 years. I just say I'm from there. That's when I actually started
So like
learning.
middle school, high school?
Middle school.
Yeah.
Middle school to high school. Graduated, came back.
What part of California?
Norwalk. It's right next to Los Angeles, about 15 minutes out. Yeah.
So Southern California.
Yeah, love it, man.
Yeah.
Love it. It's good stuff.
Did you ever go back?
Absolutely. I was just there 2 weeks ago. No, I'm sorry. 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
I love it.
Did you have to drive?
Yeah,
Or
I
because
drove. I
yeah.
didn't want to be on the airplane,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah, not a lot of people flying right now.
yeah,
You might have been the only one on the plane.
you may be right. Yeah, I drove.
But yeah, so solar power is one of the most abundant energy sources on Earth. There's some really cool facts about solar, that there's enough solar energy hitting the Earth every hour to meet all of humanity's power needs for an entire year. We just don't have a way to harness it yet on that scale.
Yeah,
Some people do.
yeah, definitely.
My house does.
Yeah,
Target does. Walmart does, but not every person. And to put it in perspective, if we covered the Mojave Desert with solar arrays, then it would generate more than twice as much electricity as the U.S. uses annually.
that's pretty cool. That's awesome.
So it gives you an idea of when we talk in terms of energy density. Right now, gasoline and oil are the highest in energy density that we commonly use. Nuclear is probably the highest, meaning you only need a little bit of the stuff to make a lot of energy.
Yeah,
Whereas solar isn't quite as energy dense because it takes a lot of equipment to produce a smaller reaction. Cars, for example, would not be good candidates for solar because there's not enough space.
yeah,
You can't, even if you covered the entire roof with solar panels, there's not enough solar panels to generate the energy that car needs.
yeah,
But on a house, there is. Everybody's got to have a roof.
yeah.
There's not houses these days that don't have roofs,
Totally.
and there's not stores like department stores
Yeah.
and grocery stores that don't have roof. A lot of them have a really large flat roof.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Those are better to work on, though. I mean,
Mhm.
whenever you have a real crazy pitch,
Yeah.
it just becomes a little complicated because you have to stand on it, right?
Right.
Harnesses, all that gets involved. So,
And the
it's better
pitch
when it's
is actually less ideal for collection too, right?
absolutely,
Kind of more the flatter the roof, the better.
absolutely. It definitely is a better price for the customer. Also, it's good.
Yeah, because I noticed that my roof pitch is a little bit, mine's probably like a 45-degree angle,
Okay.
or fairly close. And then I have a friend that also has a solar powered house, and his is much, much flatter. And he has quite a bit more
Yeah.
production because the sun's going overhead at noon when it's highest in the sky, and it's a better collection.
Definitely.
And
I love it, man. Solar's a good thing. What made you go solar, by the way?
well, I was a few more notes that I had here was it was something that always interested me. Science and technology and innovation, being able to collect electricity from this giant fusion reactor that we have in the sky, the sun,
Yeah.
right? It shows up every day. It's
Yeah.
very reliable. We know exactly what time it's going to
Absolutely.
appear, and we know what time it's going to go away. It's calculated. But just like everything else in technology, it was expensive when it first came on the scene. There were probably a time where people couldn't afford a VCR. You probably don't even remember a
Yeah.
VCR.
No, I
Remember
don't.
VHS, that's before DVDs.
absolutely.
And then DVD players came out. They were very expensive. Um, you know, Technology, computers, laptops, everything seems to go down in price as it gets a little bit more understood. And so in 1977, it cost about $77 per watt for a simple solar cell. And probably in the 90s, you didn't see them on anything but calculators, just very small things. But according to Solar Energy Industries Association, in 2017, the average cost of solar cells was down about 21 cents per watt. An entire assembled module about 39 cents per watt. That's
Nice.
at the manufacturing level.
Absolutely.
So it's almost around a quarter.
Yeah.
That's like a 99% reduction. So the cost has gone down tremendously. And when I was finally in the home that I think I'm going to be in for a while, it's got a southern facing roof. It's got a western facing side roof. So, the first thing to think about if you're going to go solar is, are you even a good candidate for
Yeah,
solar,
absolutely.
right? I only have one crepe myrtle tree in the front yard. Every winter I chop it off and do the thing that typical people do for crepe myrtles. So I don't have any tree cover, and I have the longest part of my house southern facing. That's good because the sun, kind of tracks from east to west
Yeah.
and goes over. So there's like this big bell curve when I have an app on my phone that shows the solar production
Nice.
during the day.
With the inverters?
Yeah, and so that you see them spike, around noon, and then as it trails off, 3, 4, 5 o'clock, then it kind of goes back down.
Totally.
But I catch the sunset on that western side.
Nice.
And so what do you find when you visit homeowners?
That's an ideal situation. Just about maybe a week ago, we were out in spring, and they wanted to get solar in the roof, but they didn't want to chop down the trees. I mean, the roof was covered with a lot of shade.
Yeah.
They wanted it. They didn't want to chop down the trees, so that happens a lot. But for the most part, I mean, here in Southeast Texas, it's perfect. There's not a lot of problems like that with shade, and if there is, I mean, the homeowners usually are not against cutting down a tree.
Yeah, and typically if you have a new subdivision, there's no trees anyways, because they
Absolutely.
just went in and leveled everything.
Absolutely.
And everybody is like me, they have like a little small shrub or
Yeah.
a crepe myrtle.
Definitely.
But yeah, I was totally fascinated by the fact of, could I power my entire house? So I have a smaller home. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but it's only like 1,200 square feet. It's kind of small, and I don't have a pool. I don't have a pump going on, and my air conditioner is only a 2-ton, so it's kind of a small air conditioner. So that's the biggest power drain, would be your heating, air conditioning,
Totally.
and other than that, there's the refrigerator that kicks on from time to time, and water heater.
Nice.
I don't have a tankless water heater yet. I'd like to get one in the future, but right now I still have the big tank water heater. And so if I'm gone during the day, if I'm at work and the kids are at school, there's really nothing running.
Yeah.
I can program my HVAC to kind of cycle up more close to 75 degrees, 76 degrees while I'm gone, and have it time to go back down to 72 whenever people are going to be home again.
Yeah.
During the day, I've just seen these little ripples, and that's probably the refrigerator compressor coming on and off and on and off. But if nobody's home during the day, and the heat, or not the heat of the day, but the maximum sun, because heat doesn't matter. I should probably clarify. You could be in Alaska and have solar panels because the sun's out.
Yeah.
They actually do very well in solar panels
Really?
because they have those 6 months out of the year where they have more daylight than they
Nice.
do. Now, on the other side of that, they have the longer winters. But they can really maximize their solar potential. So heat doesn't matter. It's just sunlight.
Yeah.
But in the maximum sunlight of the day, around noon, it's pushing back into the grid.
Yeah, totally.
So I don't have a battery system. I didn't really need a battery system, I felt like, because I'm on the same power grid as a local Walmart supercenter and a school. And that school also has an emergency response center.
Nice.
So if there's a natural disaster that typically took your power out, then all the first responders go to that command center. And so that gets back on the grid very, very quickly.
Definitely. And there's more cost-effective ways to do that now, too. Instead of batteries, there's inverters. There's a Sunny Boy, it's what it's called, and that stores 2,000 kilowatts for that. That way you could be good for a month or 2 months, depending how much you consume. So there's a lot of really neat ways to do it that are more cost-effective, which is good. So, it just turns out better.
That was another barrier of entry in the earlier days, is there's a lot of do-it-yourself solar. And people were doing it with car batteries. That can be a big expense because the car batteries don't last as long. From your car, after about 3, 4, 5 years, you're ready for another car battery. And that can be costly. So I just did a grid-tied system for now. I can always go back and add batteries later. But people ask me, how does that work? So it's kind of like, if you think about it like fitness, right? Like calories in versus calories out. Let's say I have a 7-day period for like 1 week, and every day I'm consuming more calories than I expend. I'm eating too much and I'm not exercising enough. Well, at the end of that week, I probably have gained weight. Conversely, if I'm burning more calories, if I'm exercising every day and I'm watching my intake, then I'm going to lose weight. If I do the exact same, then it's going to be a break even.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the same thing with my electric company billing cycle. Let's say there's 30 days in that billing cycle, and 20 of those days were just no clouds, bright sun. Then I probably overproduced. I made more energy from the sun than I needed to run my home. So it pushed back into the grid, and other people without solar could have benefited from it. That's energy that the electric company didn't have to make on their own.
Absolutely.
So they're going to pay me for that because I'm like the power plant, right? And you can get into situations where that can be lucrative for you. In my area, I only have one electric company. There's no competition. So they get to say what they're going to pay me for.
It's half, right? Buy it back is half, I think.
Yeah.
So,
whereas in other markets, it may be more competitive because they have to be. They
down in McAllen, we do a lot of business in McAllen. Out there is it's like 13 cents buyback. So it makes sense out there.
Yeah. And so for me, typically at the end of the month, because people are curious, instead of getting a bill from the electric company, I get a credit. And it's usually around anywhere from $12 to $20 that they're paying me, and it shows up as a negative. And when it gets to a certain threshold, I believe it's like around $50, and you generate a credit, then they cut you a check and they're paying you. So since I've had the system for over a year now, I've never paid an electric bill. Ever. So then the next question that most people, and what's funny about solar too is, when you buy a car or a large appliance or anything that you buy, people socially typically know that it's rude to ask how much you paid for something. Like, I'm not going to say, hey, how much did you pay for those shoes? It's just kind of like a rude thing. When solar, people don't care. That's their first question. They want to know how much you pay for it. And mainly because their curiosity peaks and they don't have anything to compare it to. We all buy cars. We've all bought cars since we were teenagers, maybe. And we've bought so many cars, we kind of know how much cars cost, and we see commercials all the time. But there's not that much data for solar that people commonly know. So I think they're just curious. I mean, because I'll have, like I said, I'll have a total stranger drive up to my house while I'm like leaf blowing. I can't even hear it. I got to turn that off, go up to them, what do you want? And they're like, hey, how much did you pay? And I'm like, dude, I don't even know you. That's not typically something I share with people. But then I kind of gotten to know that they're just curious and they need information and they're excited about it. So I want to share it with them. And they ask, what's the return on the investment? And I say, I don't really have a good explanation for me and what other people are doing for a return on investment, because I didn't shell out, 20 grand, 30 grand for the system. All I did was finance the system for about the same amount that I was paying the electric company per month before.
Absolutely.
So I looked at all of my bills, and most electric companies have that average billing. So this is about how much you spend on electricity. This is how much you use in a typical month. And then they average it out for a year. Mine was about $150. So I first got the system designed to run the whole house. It was about a 7.5 kilowatt system.
Okay.
So then that's 21 LG solar panels. And with the cost of the panels, the micro inverters, the installation, all that, I financed that amount for about $150 a month. So I simply traded my monthly electric bill for the monthly note on this system. Well, there's going to come a day where I pay that off and that goes away. So at that point, I'm not going to have a monthly note on the solar system. I'm not going to have a monthly electric bill either. I'm going to have a credit. So that's when, I'm going to be making money.
Absolutely.
But that's not the goal. The goal isn't to make money as fast as you can. It's just to, nothing, as far as my monthly budget, nothing changed. I was already paying that $150. You know for sure that if you don't have solar, you're going to pay the electric company for the rest of your life. So if I'm in my 30s, if you're in your 20s and your 30s and you're a homeowner and you could finance a system and maybe pay it off in 10 years, well, think about the entire rest of your life. You've got all of your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, your 80s that the electric company's paying you.
Absolutely.
So that's what you need to think about.
And then in 5 years from now, 6 years from now, that energy rate where you're paying $150, it's not going to be $150. It's going to be $170, maybe $180 if you were still with the energy company.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So you start seeing savings along those points too. Maybe 4 years from now, 5 years from now. And it's all about how you price it at the very beginning too, if you're saving up front also. So it all just depends on the financing. So that makes it really affordable also. Is there so much financing out there that we can use?
Yeah, really cheap stuff too. Stuff that I didn't even know about. My financing ran through what's called the Technology Credit Union.
You told me about them a year ago.
and I think that California is probably to credit for a lot of the creative financing options.
Absolutely.
Because they did it first,
Yeah.
and so it's probably going to be that, if you went to a local lender here and said, "Hey, I'd like you to finance my solar panel system," they probably wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, actually, having financing is what saved the company, because you had to pay up cash at the beginning, right?
Right,
Up
yeah.
until maybe about a year and a half ago, financing started being offered.
Yeah.
In Texas.
So up front, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
The other option that I was looking into would be adding panels one at a time, doing it myself.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't have to go that route. I'm glad I could just, because the installation was super fast.
Yeah.
With the crew.
Knock it out in 4 hours, 5 hours.
And they're doing it every day, all day. I mean, they've really dialed it in to.
We have like 3 jobs going on right now out in Bridge City, Orange, and Viter. So.
Yeah, I was amazed how fast that they could. And it's not, for people that are curious, the panels that take like a small sheet of plywood, basically. They're not laying flat on your shingles.
That's a big question we get.
Yeah.
How do they go?
Yeah, there's a thin metal rail, that's elevated, and so there's maybe 2 screw holes on this side, and then 2 screw holes way down here, and then the panels lay down on that rail.
Correct. Yeah.
So
that's a big question we always get.
The penetration to the roof is very minimal.
Yeah, absolutely. And it should go on the 2x8s, 2x4s, whatever it is they might have. So there should be no leaks also. And there's a flashing over that with caulking on it. That way, just to protect it some more.
Yeah.
So should be perfect.
And then with looks, I think it looks like the future. Like when you drive by my house, it looks wild. I like it. Some people want the solar panels to be hidden.
Yeah.
So they're kind of looking towards the Tesla tiles.
Yeah. I hope we get into that soon, and we get a lot of questions about that. But that's really hard to access. At least I haven't found a distributor that's really affordable. But that'd be a good market soon.
Yeah, I would probably wait for like 2nd gen or 3rd gen, because everything that Tesla builds gets better over time.
Yeah.
And even with SpaceX with their rockets, they blew up a lot of rockets in the beginning, but everything that they do gets better. 2nd gen and 3rd gen. So I would probably wait on that, because it's the same concept, but it's a different technology.
Yeah.
And we'll have to see how it plays out.
Totally. No, it's awesome. I love that you know about solar a lot. I mean, that's
yeah.
really
I made
good.
some notes of the kind of the science about solar.
That's awesome.
Because there's 2 different types of solar. There's photovoltaic, which is what we use. That's what you're going to slap up on your roof or use in a radio or a calculator. And then there's the mirrors. That's more like a power plant.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen those?
Absolutely.
And so let's see. So speaking of the Mojave Desert, that's actually home to one of the largest operating solar thermal energy plants. And this is like the different kind of solar. And so what it has is it's got these curved mirrors that kind of capture the sun. There's in long rows. If you ever drive by one, it's almost like it's kind of blinding you because of the reflection. But in the middle of the curved mirror is a tube of liquid, and the sunlight reflects off of that mirror, heats up that tube of liquid, and that boils water. And then that boiling water spins a turbine just like you would for a normal power plant.
Cool.
The turbine spins the electromagnet, and that produces electricity. So for a turbine to spin, it doesn't care what the energy source is. It could be natural gas, it could be coal, it could be boiling water, it could be the Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. As long as you're spinning something, then you could create electricity.
Absolutely.
There's a really cool concept that I would like to find out more about is the city water system. So all day, every day, there's water flowing from the water tower to the citizens in your main. I was having this conversation with my kids the other day because kids these days, they don't drink out of the water hose, right?
Yeah.
And we were outside playing, and I drank out of the water hose. And my daughter said, "Ooh, you're going to drink that?" And I said, "Well, this water that comes out of this water hose is the same water that comes out of the faucet because it all comes in one pipe."
Totally.
But back to my point, all that water's flowing every day, all day. And if you could put a little turbine in there that didn't impede the flow of the water, it just served a purpose to spin, kind of like a paddle wheel, that could generate electricity as well.
Totally. That's pretty awesome. It's a good thing to look into, Southeast Texas, right?
Yeah, we should check into it for sure.
Yeah.
So back to the science of solar. Simply put, a solar panel works by allowing photons, which are particles of light, to knock off electrons free from the atoms, generating a flow of electricity. Solar panels actually comprise many smaller units called photovoltaic cells, and photovoltaic simply means that they convert sunlight into electricity.
Nice.
Many cells linked together make up a solar panel. Each photovoltaic cell is basically a sandwich made up of two slices of semiconducting material, usually silicon, and that's the same stuff that's used in microelectronics. So in order to work, photovoltaic cells need to establish an electric field, much like a magnetic field, which occurs due to opposite poles. An electric field occurs when opposite charges are separated. To get this field, manufacturers they dope the silicon with other materials, giving it each slice of the sandwich a positive or a negative electrical charge. So specifically, they seed phosphorus into the top layer of silicon, which adds extra electrons with a negative charge to that layer. Meanwhile, the bottom layer gets a dose of boron, which results in fewer electrons or a positive charge. This adds up to an electric field at the junction between the silicon layers. Then when a photon of sunlight knocks an electron free, the electric field will push that electron out of the silicon junction, and that turns those electrons into usable power. So metal conductive plates on the sides of the cell collect the electrons and transfer them to wires. And at that point, the electrons can flow just like any other source of electricity.
Nice.
So
That's pretty cool.
yeah, I felt like it was important
totally.
to know how it works. You've got this black glass panel up there. How is that making electricity? Well, that's how it's done.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
And so it's just about the photons, which are the particles of light, not about the heat. So it doesn't matter if it's a 90-degree day or freezing outside. You just want the clouds to go away.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mentioned before, but a lot of big companies such as Tesla, Target, Walmart, and Apple, tend to power their entire facility just on solar.
That's awesome. That's pretty incredible.
Another question I get from homeowners is, what about the roof? Because luckily my home wasn't very old. I know I'm going to have a roof. I don't need a new roof. I was able to just say, go ahead with the solar panels. But it sounds like you've been able to kind of garner a connection between a roofing company and a solar company.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a big problem that we have for a lot of customers, because these panels are going to go on there for 30, 40 years, whatever it might be. So your roof has to be in condition for the next 30, 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
If not, whenever you change the roof, they're going to charge you more because you have to take off the panels and then fix the roof and then
more
put it
labor.
back on. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So anybody that needs a new roof, what we do is we change it now, included it in the price for the solar. So we just add that on there, which is really neat.
Yeah. And are there financing options for the roof and the solar together?
Absolutely. Yeah. We finance it together.
Mm-hmm.
So we use SunGauge, Mosaic, a lot of these good companies.
Yeah. And a lot of people wonder, about the lifeline or the lifetime shelf life of the systems. Well, luckily, almost all solar companies, because there's many out there, hope most people listen to this will choose your company, but most all companies have a 20-year warranty or a 25-year warranty. Yeah. They have power production guarantees, so they stand by. Most car manufacturers only give like a 3 years, 36,000 miles. I mean, the warranties on solar are like incredible, and although the warranty may run out after 25 years, these systems are going to last 40 to 50 years.
Absolutely.
I don't know anyone that is like a second generation solar customer.
Yeah.
They just have the first system, the
absolutely.
initial system.
Absolutely. Yeah, they've gotten strict with it in the permit process, because there's a process in order for you to get the net metering, right? So there has to be certain kinds of warranty in order to get approved for net metering. So it's 20 years minimum is what it's required. We do 25. So
that's good. Yeah. And speaking of net metering, that's where the electric company comes out and you'll need to get a new meter. So I have a meter, for example, that it shows the kilowatts that I'm consuming from them.
Absolutely.
And then it shows the kilowatts that I'm pushing back to them. And then, like I said, at the end of the billing cycle, there's that balance. Did I use more? We had that period back in maybe December, January. Remember where it seemed like it rained every day?
Yeah.
People were losing their minds. Because people in Southeast Texas don't like that.
Yeah.
And it went like 2 weeks without even seeing the sun. So obviously during that time, I'm going to be using electricity from the electric company. I'm still tied to the grid. People ask me, what if there's a cloudy day?
Yeah.
I'm not losing power if there's a cloudy day.
Yeah.
It's just you don't notice anything. If you didn't know you had solar panels, you would never know that they were there, because you flip on the light switch, it works just like anything else. It's not like a generator where you have to go outside and turn something on or anything. You just live your life, and that's all that you do.
That's one of the biggest questions we get is my light gonna turn off and on? Is something gonna go out of place? But no.
Yeah, there's a big electric panel, that sits next to my breaker box, and that kind of handles everything for me. It's does Tyler need electricity from the electric company, or does he need, or can he use the this energy here?
These inverters are great, and they're just getting better.
Yeah, I know for my system I have micro inverters.
Okay, nice. That's good.
So each panel has its own.
That's
inverter.
Actually better.
Yeah.
We do a lot of string where if one messes up, they all mess up, unfortunately, and then you just have to go and fix that.
Like Christmas lights.
Absolutely. Yeah. But there's a micro inverter, and we're starting to get into that, which is really hard to tap into. And that one is really good, because now if one messes up, only one messes up, not all of them.
Yeah, and I've even seen it too, because I can look at like a diagram on my array. Sometimes there's a cloud here but not there, and so this panel's cranking out, and they don't have to, they're not tied by the weakest link or anything.
Absolutely.
Or like you said, if one panel gets just obliterated by a baseball from a neighborhood kid, everything else is still fine. You just go in and replace that one panel. I was curious myself about cleaning, just because right now I see a little pollen on them, and I know in a couple of days it's probably going to rain, it's probably going to wash it off. I've never got up there and cleaned them.
Yeah.
Do you recommend people do that?
So by law, with everything that we have to do for the permit process and stuff, no, right? Because the water clears that out anyways. But you can. I mean, just make them look polished and stuff, right? But
I don't think that I'll do it unless I had like a pole with a duster or something.
Absolutely.
I know if they get insanely dusty, it can inhibit the power production. But I don't.
Some water.
Yeah, I don't think it's obviously they're waterproof because they get rained on. They're kind of like part of your roof. But I don't ever spray them with the hose. I kind of just leave them alone.
Yeah, it should be all right. I mean, the production doesn't come down that much, right? Maybe just
probably not
minimal.
not even much that I can notice.
Yeah.
So, so some of the solar power plants can last 40 years or more. When a solar power plant is built, it's usually backed by a power purchase agreement with a customer, utility, business, or homeowner, and it lasts 20 to 25 years. But that doesn't mean that such plants would be worthless after that. Not only will solar panels last 40 to 50 years, but the infrastructure around solar plant has a lot of value. Solar panels could be replaced with new, more efficient modules at relatively low cost. So that's what we were talking about. If as newer technology comes out, there may be something available in the future that wasn't available back then.
Without a doubt.
And you can simply integrate that into your system. I saw this with the Tesla wall battery, where the company that I had to do the install, they weren't selling or installing the Tesla wall battery at that time. And then now they are. So they've adapted that new technology, and I think that the Tesla wall battery is it's more for looks. I mean, there's things out there that can accomplish the same task or the same function with maybe less of a markup.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree for sure. It's definitely expensive.
Yeah,
for the same thing.
It's like a Dyson vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
You have to have a vacuum cleaner, and if you have to have one, why not have one that looks like the future, looks freaking awesome, right?
Absolutely.
So I guess it's kind of that standpoint.
No, I'm with you. It makes sense for sure. But for inverters and stuff, there's so much stuff that can do almost what that can do.
Right.
Just looks cooler.
And that's where you have a little bit of a backup.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. But that just looks cooler with the Tesla.
Yeah, you hang it on the wall and it's got lights. And it's meant to not have to hide, because that's what Tesla said, I think, is if you have a battery bank or a bunch of inverters, well, typically you're going to try to put them into like a mechanical closet or hide them, what if you could show it off? What
Yeah.
if you could? And so you've got these nice garages with a Tesla, Model S, and then the wall battery hanging on the wall,
Yeah.
and you're
Elon
collecting.
Musk, he's smart, man. He's
Yeah.
smart. I love him. I learned a lot from him.
Well, speaking of mentors, I know we follow one of the same sales mentors, Grant Cardone.
Dude, I love him.
And
I wear all his stuff, man.
yeah,
I love him.
I saw you've got the 10X bracelet.
Past 6 years of my life, I've been following him. Changed my life, man.
Have you actually been to GrowthCon?
Absolutely.
Before?
I go to all the growth cons, all the boot camps, all the 10X headquarters. I study everything he studies. I mean, that is my guy.
Yeah.
So
I think I'm halfway through his Grant Cardone University.
University, yeah.
I need to
Yeah.
finish it up. He's started. You can see in the videos, some of the early videos he made, a decade ago, and then as you progress through the program, it's more recent, and it's such good information that spans time, because it's always relevant.
hey, it's so good for anybody watching. I mean, that is in a company, right, or sales. I mean, for us, we have it for our company, and boosted up my sales 4 years ago when we got with them. So
Yeah,
3 or 4
regardless
years
of
ago.
what you're selling,
Absolutely.
he could speak to car salesmen. At the time I was heavy into it, I was doing copier sales, and it especially helps for something like that where you're selling something that not a lot of people are interested in. Who wants to talk about a copier?
Yeah.
How was I able to do it so successfully for so many years? Well, it was massive action, and that's what Grant constantly says is you have to take massive action to whatever it is that you're doing.
I love him, man. I mean, that guy. I watch him every day. I mean, just in the truck, I was watching his interview, an interview that he had with the guy named Zane Jane. Amazing, man. I mean, I watch him every day.
Similar to Gary Vaynerchuk, he puts out a lot of free content.
Absolutely.
So almost daily, weekly for sure, but almost daily, you can go to his Instagram and watch his IGTV.
Love it.
And some of that is him ranting about what's on his mind during the day.
Yeah.
Telling you to get your stuff together.
Dude, I love it,
Yeah.
man. That I could talk about for hours.
Yeah.
I mean,
He kind of had a controversial April Fool's joke. Did you see that?
Grant?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Where
Yeah.
he was gonna burn out and he was getting rid of his
Yeah,
plane.
it was kind of in the same timeline as the economic downturn of coronavirus, and he said that he's like, yeah, I'm giving up. I'm selling the private
plane,
jet.
yeah.
Yeah, selling the condo. His point was, the next day is there's so much noise out there on social media that it can make it difficult. If you're selling something right now, it's pretty hard. Nobody wants to make a buying decision during these uncertain times, and all you're hearing is the negative news. And he said, how do you get above that news? You have to say something radical. So that was kind of the point of that.
But he's so good because they have not gotten affected with their income. Like I know all those guys that right, your Steve Spray, all of them. Like if you look at them, I talk to them personally, right? So they're good guys. I mean, I spend a lot of money with them. And
the only one that I know personally, well, two of them would be Dave Robards.
Okay.
He won like a. Grant did like a reality show where they were competing for a job.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, and I think he was the first winner.
Okay.
And so he was my sales trainer when I enrolled in
Love him,
Cardone
man.
University. And then Ryan, his pilot.
Okay.
We're just Instagram
Ryan
friends.
Secco.
Yeah.
Good guy too, man.
Yeah,
Good
really
guy.
cool. He's in a unique situation where he actually gets to spend more one-on-one time with Grant than probably anyone else.
But what he does, he sells so much for Grant just to stay close with him. Because Grant says the only people he's going to hang out with are people that are on the board.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Ryan's always on top of the board because he wants to be around them.
Yeah.
So these guys' incomes have not gotten affected at all. If you look at their incomes, they've actually skyrocketed. So it's so key to listen to what Grant says and what he studies, right? Because he studies a certain material that a lot of people study too. And I mean, if you just follow that, man. I mean, these guys are doing better than before.
And he really did come from nothing.
Yeah.
He went to McNeese University right down the road from us over here.
Yeah.
But didn't have a lot of money. And he talks about his I think he has a twin brother,
Gary.
Yeah. Gary didn't follow the same kind of
But,
advice.
he made a couple $1 billion too.
Right.
In the oil. I think out there in like United Kingdom or something like that. It's one of those places. But he did very well for himself too.
Yeah.
So
have you seen his Cardone Capital, where it's kind of like it's group real estate investing?
Yeah, definitely. I have life insurance policy. I put already on like my will for my wife. Automatically, 80% of that's going to Cardone Capital. So I mean, I believe in him. I believe everything he does. He changed my life, man. So
Yeah. Yeah, kind of the way the Cardone Capital works is you may not have enough money to invest in a rental property, but if you had 10 other friends, you probably could.
Absolutely.
So they're really high end, condos and apartment complexes.
80, 100, $200 million apartment complexes.
And so you get multiple people to invest in that, and
Yeah.
then they send you the dividends, I guess, monthly or quarterly.
Yeah, of 6 to 10%, he says,
yeah.
of what you put in.
So it's definitely higher than a savings account. A savings account isn't going to get you anything.
Absolutely.
And I think some of their minimum investments, may be as low as $5,000. Yeah, that's what I saw. So yeah, if you've got $5,000 in a savings account, obviously it's not earning anything right now. I mean, interest rates are as the lowest they've ever been in our lifetime.
Yeah.
I think for sure.
And then Cardone University would help out with increasing that number too. So
It'll definitely motivate you. With Cardone University, the premise that I followed was I did 2 lessons every morning, and that kind of sets your tone for the day.
Yeah.
And when I say lesson, it was a
minute video, 2-minute video.
Yeah, like a 2-minute video, and then you answer some questions. You're actually quizzed on it. And the reason that's important is you're actually listening to the video way better if you know you're going to be quizzed on it.
Yeah.
And the quiz may even be like, what color was Grant's shirt? Most of them are related to the material. Yeah. It may even be statistics, but I would take notes because that's the only way I could remember.
Yeah. Did you have the personal account or the company account?
Company, yeah.
Okay. Oh,
where
nice.
Everybody was doing it together.
That's cool.
So the sales team was doing it together.
That's all. Y'all had it for function?
Mm-hmm. Nice, yeah, we did.
Man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I really liked it. Yeah. I was glad. One thing that Dave Robard said is, this is something that the company's invested in for you, but it's your account and it stays with you wherever you go.
Yeah, he's a good guy, man.
Mm-hmm.
Tall.
Yeah, he's a big dude. Yeah. So yeah, back on solar in Puerto Rico. Solar is one of the fastest energy sources to deploy. When a disaster strikes and there's no electricity source that can be built or repaired as quickly as solar, such as the situation in Puerto Rico following this year's hurricanes. Tesla and others were able to build small solar energy plants with storage capabilities on the island in a matter of weeks. There's no fossil fuel power plant nor any other renewable energy facility that could have been brought only so quickly. And that's because there's not a whole lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
It's just a panel.
Yeah.
The panel's already built somewhere else. You just have to put it in front of the sun and hook the plug up.
Yeah.
It's already ready. So that's great, in the most remote situations, they're using solar, such as spacecraft. The International Space Station has solar panels. They have a really good benefit of solar because they're not clouded by the atmosphere.
Yeah.
So when they're getting hit by solar light, it's pure.
Yeah.
The astronauts talk of how if they don't have their visor down, the sun is way brutal.
Really.
They don't have that filtration of the ozone layer and the atmosphere to kind of scatter the rays, which even if you're on Earth, you shouldn't stare at the sun. But if you stare at the sun when you're above the atmosphere, you're in trouble. You could get sunburned,
really?
Pretty much instantly.
That's cool.
There's no filter.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Even some of the spacecraft that are, far out, like the probes that we send to explore other planets and take pictures, those are solar powered. Cool. So some of them are nuclear or like a decaying radioactive isotope because they're unmanned, so they don't have to worry about radiation. That's the problem with nuclear. Like, we can't have a nuclear powered car because the shielding would be so heavy. Then the car because you have to protect the passenger.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's kind of the danger of nuclear power plants is, they take a long time to build because of all of the safety precautions that have to go in and the shielding. People don't want them in their neighborhood. They don't mind using the energy. Yeah. They just don't want it in their backyard.
That's pretty
Whereas
cool.
solar is a little bit less invasive.
Yeah. You know a lot of stuff, man.
Well, what we really need to go towards would be fusion energy. Now, fusion might be a problem for some people because such a small amount of material could power, entire countries. So there's, it's the thing with money. It's how you monetize that. If you've got such a small amount of stuff You don't have to buy it as often, sell it as often. But the energy required to make a fusion reaction has been so high that it was like you don't have the net gain yet.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it took, say, this is just example numbers, but it took 500 megawatts to cause a fusion reaction that produced 500 megawatts. Well, there's a zero gain.
Yeah.
We have to develop technology that's better to offset that scale.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, fusion energy is what the sun is,
Yeah.
and so you're taking instead of splitting the atoms, you're crushing them together. And making something new. You're taking the hydrogen and fusing into helium. That's where we can, as a society, be completely powered, indefinitely.
Yeah. No, it's awesome, man. It's good stuff.
So what are you up to these days with everything?
Man, we're selling a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just following the structure, right? I'm following what was laid out for me. I only follow 2 people.
Maybe walk us through, if someone is interested, what are the steps that they go through in order to see if their home is a good candidate for solar?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like a typical day for you.
Yeah, so, we go on the website, Mid-County Roofers, just right now in case I don't know them, right? Where I'm with them right now, so just fill out the lead form, right? Obviously would call them. And
be sure to use offer code Tyler if you're hearing this.
Yeah, for sure. So then, we just go out to their home, we get their address, look it up online, right? Make sure that it is good, no trees around, and if there is, right, as long as they're okay with trimming them or whatever it might be that needs to be done. Because you can.
So the first thing you do is kind of give them a consultation and talk to them about it.
Yeah, any home can get it.
Do you ever use Google Earth?
Yeah, there's so much good software now. So there's Solar Graph where everything is laid out. It becomes less for the actual rep. You just put in the address, and the address would design it out for you 100%.
And do you have the ability to show them what it would look like?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
So
it shows you how much they're consuming now, what they would pay, if they were to get a full home of solar and all that good stuff.
So they should dig into their previous electric bills and give those to you, right?
Absolutely.
And let you analyze it.
But we can access all that through like there's so much software now that we can access what they've used, what they are using, all that, what hours are they using more. So we have access to all that good stuff.
Okay, good. And I know in the past the tax credits have been good. I was able to take advantage of the tax credit, but I know that they're diminishing as time goes on.
Yeah, 27% this year. So it's 27, and next year it's 25, and then 23, 22, and then it's done. Something along those numbers.
I did a lot of things to kind of maximize the efficiency of my home. I don't have any incandescent light bulbs or fluorescent light bulbs. I only use LEDs.
Yeah.
So I've got LEDs in every single light socket.
Nice.
Behind every electrical wall plate, there's a little foam pad.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's sealed up.
Windows too. Windows are really, I think it's 30% of the reason why you're consuming so much.
I did recaulking.
Okay.
I do need to get some heat resistant windows, maybe like some double pane or some tint.
Yeah.
Or
There's
something.
some with argon.
Yeah,
Argon really
that would
protects it.
yeah, that would really benefit my situation because I have some kitchen windows where Jillian likes to let in all the light. She wants every blind, every curtain open. She wants, and I'm like, it's kind of like a greenhouse, But I like the light too. I don't want it dark. I know how much heat's coming in, and so I need some argon insulated windows.
Yeah.
I have my old school hot water heater, the big tank. I have it insulated with a foam and reflective barrier. I've got my attic is in the garage, so that doesn't matter. If your attic is in the house, like in a hallway, then you should consider getting one of those attic insulator. It's kind of like a bag.
Yeah.
So when you drop your ladder down, you have this like zipper bag. You unzip it, and then you go access your attic.
Yeah, definitely.
Because a draft can go up there.
What did you do that before solar or after?
There's a little bit of a downtime where you get your panels installed, and then it's Entergy, which is our electric company, is a little bit slow because they don't,
it's about a month up to 2 months sometimes,
to where they finally give you the approval to flip the big breaker.
The approval is good. It's just for them to install it. It takes a while.
Yeah, they install their meter, and then they give the okay to crack that breaker. So during that time, I did all these improvements.
Nice. Did you see a difference in your actual energy bill? Like when you did all that?
Yeah, for sure. With all the lights, the lights, you almost instantly, because every day you turn on the same lights. You know, the kitchen light's always going to be on, the bathroom light, the living room light, LED TVs. You know,
LED TVs,
I've got
nice.
3 LED TVs, and then I've got one kind of old school. I don't know what it is. I had a friend that was in the military that was moving to Bahrain, and he gave me this. It's kind of like an old school plasma, and you
Cool.
can put your hand up to it. It puts off some heat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So LED TVs generate, or use less
Yeah.
energy. Trying to think of anything else that I might have done. Caulking the seams. There's a test that you can do to test how well your home
Yeah.
seals. I did that. And because you don't want it completely airtight, because you do want to, as we breathe,
Yeah.
we release carbon dioxide.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you want a little bit of outside air to kind of make its way into your house. You
Yeah.
don't want to be in a sealed, bunker,
Totally.
but you want to make sure that your house isn't drafty.
Yeah.
The older the home, then
The windows are really good in my house. Whenever we changed out the window things, and we could do the windows too, by the way, in
Right.
case somebody wanted just the windows.
Okay.
But whenever we did just the windows, that brought down. I mean, I was paying like 190, and now I'm like at 130 a month. And we leave our AC on all day at like 72, and
Yeah.
lights on all day, TV. So I have a daughter. So.
yeah, the programmable thermostat helped me too.
Nice.
I could really notice how much on time and off time and schedule it. I think for me, when you have a building that's unoccupied, people used to say, "Oh, it costs more money to turn it off and turn it on." And
Yeah.
I think the old school ways of leaving it on, 70, that's if you're not home, that's a thing of the past.
Yeah.
They're more efficient now, where they
Yeah.
have variable drives where you can go out there and the fan's just barely spinning, and then because that's where the draw is, when the big compressor of the AC bangs on and it's just on or off.
Yeah.
From those older air conditioners, that's where you get that big surge of power coming on. But if you have the fan out there and the fan that's inside your house stages, it kind of slowly kicks on,
Yeah.
and it has maybe 3 different stages. If it's 72 outside and you want it to be 72 inside, it's not going to have to work very hard.
Yeah.
If it's 90 outside, it's going to have to work really hard so it can stage itself and go through those stages and blow. You see it blowing harder over
Yeah.
time. But you have to get a newer system
Yeah.
and higher SEER rating.
And you sell that, right?
Yeah, we do the automation system.
Nice,
So we
man.
do that for commercial and industrial
Nice.
applications.
How's that going?
Yeah, it's going really good.
Nice.
Staying busy.
Bro, we talked about it a year ago.
Yeah, in this area, air conditioning is a necessity. It's not really a luxury. And humidity control.
Yeah.
For some of our customers that are down right now, like churches can't gather, but they can't completely shut everything off because
Yeah.
the humidity will ruin the furnishings.
Yeah,
The pews and the stage. It'll all be cabinetry. It'll be warping if you just shut it off. So we're able to monitor all
That's
that, and they
pretty
can
cool.
monitor it remotely from their phone. Yeah,
That's awesome.
So yeah, staying in the technology realm.
That's good.
But another reason I wanted to get into solar was there's a lot of activists out there, right? You see these people that protest, they want to change the world.
Yeah.
They're not doing anything themselves. They're not doing anything in their home, in their neighborhood, or in their city at all. They're just yelling on the internet and or yelling at a protest. And when you ask them, like, what are you personally doing? Like, what do you personally drive? They're not taking any measures. So I believe that before you go out and change the world, you should change your own house.
Starts where you can control, man.
Yeah.
You can control your house.
So I've got the solar powered house. I drive a hybrid car.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of activists out there that aren't doing anywhere close to that. The next step is to try to get rid of all of the single-use plastic. I have kids, so I don't like doing dishes all the time. So
Yeah.
there's some plastic forks and spoons and knives.
Yeah.
It would be better if we could just use metal.
Yeah.
It's reusable for utensils. I've got no plastic cups. Water bottles is another tough one
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's easy to grab a bottle of water.
Yeah.
You could just grab a reusable cup. So I'll try to work on that.
Yeah.
Once I can complete all of that, then I've not only changed my habits, but I've changed the habits of everyone that lives with me. If you have a significant other, and then the kids that are going to grow up one day and have their own house,
Yeah.
they can turn off the lights when they're not in a room. They can, if they're not completely inconvenienced in the winter. Just put on a hoodie.
Yeah.
It's no big deal to sit in your house in a hoodie. It doesn't get that cold here, so you don't need to crank the heat up every single time. So once you complete everything that's in your household, then look out in your neighborhood. So we've got a drainage ditch that's right on the other side of the community mailboxes, right? People chunk their trash in there. They're driving home and they throw their beer bottle or Powerade or wrapper from Whataburger in there. So I want to set aside a day where I'm going to go clean that up.
Nice.
I'm just going to pick up the trash. I'll put it in my own personal trash can, and I'll kind of use it as a photo opportunity to tell my neighbors. And I'll say, this time I cleaned it, but hopefully next time one of you will join me and you can do it together.
Yeah.
And then during that time I can explain to them, like, these are some things I did in my house. Would you consider doing them in your house?
That's pretty awesome.
So then you've changed your street or your local neighborhood. So then the next step would be, there's some trails where I ride my bike and run, and it's another drainage ditch for a much larger neighborhood, and it's bad. People they'll like burn a golf cart or a go-kart and then throw the metal frame in there. Or there's
You burn a golf cart? A go-kart?
Patio furniture. There's everything, toys, buckets, everything you can think of has been dumped in this area, because sometimes people's mentality are, well, it's not my problem anymore. It's out of sight, out of mind. Right. So then I can move on to that drainage ditch and start picking up some of that stuff and try to generate some interest in that larger neighborhood. And that'll get to the point where we probably have to take it to a dump, and we'll say, hey, if you're not able to come out on this Saturday and help gather some of this dirt, or not gather some of this trash, would you consider donating to the dump fees? Because you got to take it to the dump and pay, $16 for a truckload or something like that. So then you've changed your, part of your city, and then you move on to and you just move outward. So if you have more people like that with that mindset that, I'm changing my neighborhood, I'm changing this part of my city, you over there, you're changing your neighborhood and your part of the city, and then you get 10 people like that, 20 people like that, then it just bubbles out. Then you can talk about changing a state or a country or the world.
Totally.
But until you do that, just yelling about it isn't going to help. So that's my thoughts on
that. No, you hear that a lot for sure, people saying stuff, but it starts with yourself. What can you control, right? At your home, you get solar.
It's an interesting experiment with people driving less, with all the different pollution charts and stuff, which
really,
it's
I've not looked into that.
I mean, it's a detrimental experiment, I guess, because people are losing their jobs and losing their livelihood and their income. But it was interesting to see exactly what we are doing. Is it, because we're always thinking, is it human intervention or this, that, and the other? So I don't know. It's just interesting to look at.
I'm driving more. We have a lot more appointments.
But with all the non-essential workers working, or people that are working from home that are essential, there's way less cars on the road. China saw a big decrease in pollution.
Really?
Because China was a little bit more strict in their shutdown than we were. So that radar pollution chart that sometimes you see, decrease a little bit.
Wow.
Then and all the animals coming out and cleaner water.
That's pretty cool.
It was interesting because nothing like this has ever happened. Nobody's ever just said, hey, we're all going to stay at home for a month.
It's pretty weird, right? I went to Home Depot to buy some stuff and I had to wait in line. I was like, what the hell? Oh,
to get in?
Yeah. Pretty weird.
Yeah, I've been doing that at Walmart. I pretty much limited it to every 2 weeks. I'll just get enough food to where I can last 2 weeks. That way, because I used to get in the habit of wanting fresh food.
Yeah.
And so it's fun, right, to, swing by on the way home from work, get the stuff that you're going to cook that day or the next day, and then you cook it, and you're going to the store 2 or 3 times a week. Instead of buying a whole bunch, because if you only shop once every 2 weeks, you're getting a lot of processed food. Because of the shelf life. I was running into that with a lot of I was buying fresh food, and it wouldn't last me to the second week because it's fresh. It's got to be cooked, so you have to cook it or freeze it.
My wife loves curbside, so she does a lot of curbside every few days. But I think the wait time's long now.
It is,
like 2 weeks or something.
I used to always do the curbside, but now I think it says like no time slots available. And I'm not even trying to go to H-E-B right now. That's the most popular grocery store on the
That's true.
in our
That's
area.
true.
So I'm sticking to Walmart right now
Yeah.
because Walmart can handle the mass crowds a little
Yeah.
bit better. I've been to Walmart on Black Friday. I know what's up. I know how to handle
Yeah.
myself.
I live about 2 blocks from Market Basket, so
Yeah,
I go
that's
to
a good
Market
one.
Basket.
A little bit
Yeah.
higher price, but less
Yeah.
crowds.
It's fast. It's fast.
Yeah,
I'm in
yeah.
and out, so I like it, man.
There's a few things at Market Basket
Yeah.
that are like way expensive than
Yeah.
what you would normally, just depending on what it is. I
Yeah,
guess.
for
Some
sure.
stuff's the same though.
Yeah. Yeah, I just like the speed, man. I like the speed. I like that it's fast. I like I can get there, I can get out pretty quickly. So I hate waiting in lines, man. I'm impatient.
Yeah, I like efficiency.
Yeah.
So, what are your goals for 2020?
Man, financially,
Yeah,
I want to make 5 million bucks this year, man.
for life and
My life,
goals for life.
man.
Life goals.
This year, I want to make 5 million bucks. I wanna invest 1 million into Cardone Capital. Everything's financially right now, man. I'm hugely financially driven, and the good part about that is my wife is on board with that.
Yeah.
So
How old are you right now?
24.
24.
Yeah.
Wow, that's young. And then you have one kid.
I have a daughter,
Two?
yeah.
Yeah.
One daughter.
Okay.
So she's on the same page as that. So even though I'm gone all day, see I'm sunburned and stuff.
Yeah,
we're out there
right.
a lot, man. Installing solar, roofing, whatever it might be. So the good thing is she's on board. So even though I'm gone all day, she doesn't mind because she knows where we're going.
Right.
So-
Yeah. Yeah, you do have to. It's important to make sure that your significant other is on board with your goals and in line. And yeah, you get some of those spouses that they're mad because the other spouse is working.
Well, I experienced
And-
that at the beginning, yeah. But
Yeah.
then if you're focused on this right here, you're always gonna be mad. But when you're going like up here, dude, everything changes. You just have to
Yeah.
sell them on that, within.
Right.
Well, I had to sell her on it.
I'm sure there'll come a day where you're not having to spend all of those long hours because of the work that you're doing now, and you may have people under you. You may be running a team of salespeople one day.
Yeah, I mean, we have it. The more I get, I want more, man. I like working. I'm only 24. Like,
Yeah.
what can I do, right?
Right. Yeah.
How far can I go?
Yeah,
I have
the-
a daughter.
Yeah, the money that you invest now will do a lot more than the money that I were to invest now. We're over 10 years apart. We're 14 years apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how far can you go? That's the interesting topic of how far. I have so much energy now. I
Yeah.
invest so much in my self development. So most of my money goes into my self development. So how far can I go?
So you were
man.
you were involved in Grant Cardone before you were when you were a teenager, right?
Yeah, I started watching him. I was 18,
Yeah.
17, 18. I got introduced to him,
Yeah.
and fell in love immediately. And then, dude, I just kept watching him throughout that.
Yeah, from a sales and marketing standpoint, and from business, some of that stuff can be more valuable than college.
Oh
you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
And if you study what he studies, it's way more interesting.
Yeah, there's definitely nothing I learned in college that helped me in sales, for sure.
Yeah.
I had to learn all of that from YouTube and Instagram and reading
See,
books and
The good part I love about Grant is that if you watch him lately, he's not being so much of a salesperson. He's being more of a business. Like, how can you grow a $100 million company? And that's what's really intriguing me so much because I used to just be a sales guy, right? I used to do all right, and then it cut off.
Oh, it's probably just the headphones.
Okay.
You can take them off if you want to. That particular setup has a little headphone issue, but you're all good.
Okay. But yeah, man, if you just follow him, right? He's turning more into like a company, a business,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Not a salesperson, which is I used to be a sales guy for a long time for my company, but how do you grow it?
Yeah, the branding is important, and he's been
Yeah,
good about
well,
teaching the
how do you
branding.
grow? How do you sell 40 deals a week instead of 40 a month?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's how to do all that. So.
Well, tell everybody where they can find you if they're
Man,
interested.
yeah, on Facebook it's Diaz Jaime. For whatever reason, they make me put my last name first, so it's
okay.
Diaz Jaime, and the company's Mid County Roofers.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So tell them to hit you up and use offer code Tyler.
Yeah, just hit me up and use offer code Tyler.
Yeah, because I'm curious to know how many leads are generated from listeners of this podcast, and there obviously we can't reach out to some of the global listeners, but when I check the download stats, there's other countries that listen to this
Really?
podcast. So about how far out would you want to go as far as Texas?
Dude, anywhere.
maybe
I go to McAllen, I go to El Paso, I go to California, I go to
Okay.
anywhere.
So pretty much anywhere in the
Yeah.
lower 48 states that if you're listening to this, you can just hit you up. I'll put some of your contact info in the description, and they can ask you more. I don't mind if people ask me questions about solar. I've tried to educate myself on it as much as I can.
Well
I feel like
educated on it, yeah.
I feel like I'm a solar salesman myself sometimes, but
Yeah.
I'm simply just interested in the technology,
Yeah.
and I like to share that with people. And I wanted to use my home as an experiment, and that's fun to do. It like I said, it didn't cost me anything to do this experiment.
Yeah.
I was paying the electric company this. Now I pay the solar company the same amount,
Yeah.
and nothing changed with my monthly budget.
Yeah.
And years from now, that'll go away, and then I won't pay either one.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that's the easiest way to think about it. If in the most simplest terms, a lot of people overthink solar. I tell them this information, they're like, I got to think about it, and I'm like, I don't know why people say they need to think about it, because you know for sure you're going to have to pay the electric company every single month until you die.
Yeah.
And then when you die, whoever owns that house that's in your family, they're going to have to pay it.
Yeah.
The only way out is solar.
Yeah.
That can completely detach you from the electric company. Not the support of the electric company, but from the invoice of the electric company.
Yeah, no, it's such a good option in my opinion. They want to save money monthly. We price it for them to save money, so we lower down their bill about 30% is what we aim at. So they'll save money from the very beginning is where we head to. So that's company based though. Some companies don't, some do. We just chose to. So
I mean, what's the return on investment on zero down, and you're already making gains.
Yeah, exactly.
from day one.
Yeah.
As soon as they flip that switch, you're already overproducing power. So
yeah. I love it.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next time. If you have any questions, hit me up. Hit up Jaime, and we'll help you out. See you later.